evening, everybody. Happy New Year to everyone. Hope you guys enjoyed your holiday. I have a couple of people here with me tonight. I got NFE from the Strike Zone and Donald from the Pinstripe Chronicles. Boys, how you guys doing tonight?
Salute, everybody. Happy New Year.
Salute. I'm doing good here, man. Doing good.
Yeah.
Glad to be on here.
Yeah, it's nice to be back on in the new year. But we have quite a bit to talk about tonight. But before we get into that, do a roll call quickly. Quick shout out to the chat. They've been fired since, even before this started. We got Aiden, we got Jonathan, we got JJ, we've got CWE, we've got Jonathan, we have Stephen B, we've got Consigliere Joel. How's it going, guys? Tyler Talbot, how's everyone doing?
What's up?
We got a lot to talk about tonight. Over the past, 3 nights, we've had a lot going on. We had Java on. We had Dane Huber from NYYU on, which was great. But tonight we're talking about, is the evil empire really back? Or is there still work that has to be done to make it so that they are back? Donald, what do you think?
I think the term evil empire is overplayed, honestly. But if you're asking me whether they can go back to the dominance that they had, then absolutely. But they need to. From what I'm seeing this offseason, yeah, I'm starting to see that they're moving in the right direction again. It looks like. But again, it's very early. We can't make proclamations about evil empires and being back to the dominance of yesteryear until we start winning again, making the playoffs and going deep into October, and moving away from the excuses that have plagued us in the past. About, well, we know the excuses that we've heard year in, year out. Kind of looks like they're moving away from the excuses, because they've kind of been. I've been really happy with what I've seen so far. I have no issue with the Verdugo trade. I like him. I think he's going to be better. And Juan Soto is an unbelievable pickup, and I think we got him for a steal. So I'm very happy with that. But we seriously need pitching. We seriously need pitching. So come back to me when we have an actual stable rotation and a reliable closer. Then we can talk. Then we can talk shop. Then we can talk about championships. But are we in the right path? Yes, because the Soto deal was really, really good, and I have absolutely no issue with anything that's transpired so far, including not getting Yamamoto. Hey, we put our balls on the table, offered $300 million. He turned it down. Okay,
which is more than fair, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it was a great offer. You turned it down. Okay, we moved. So, and I'm happy we didn't go for Montas. That's a crazy, crazy contract. Giolito, even more crazy contract. These are some crazy contracts going. The Yankees are playing it smart. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and before I get to NFE, Sean Browning just brought up a great point, which was we dodged a bullet. We dodged a major bullet.
And what was that?
With Yamamoto signing with the Dodgers for that amount of money. Because
we don't know yet. Let's you can't make massive proclamations yet because we don't see him pitch yet. But it's a crazy amount of money. I mean, if you're asking, is that we dodged a bullet because he clearly didn't want to be a Yankee, then yeah, okay, I can buy that. But we haven't seen him pitch yet, so
yeah, that's fair. I knew I called the right man for this when I hit you up for this, so I knew I got the right person. And if what's your take on it, man?
As far as the evil empire being back, the way I see it is the evil empire has always been here. It's just they're in a coma. That's all there is to it. They're just in a coma. They've been in a coma for a very long time, but they came alive this offseason, made some great transactions, made some great acquisitions, but they aren't done yet. They still have some work to do. They need to get pitching. We've been saying that, after they added a bunch of bats, they did add some arms, some arms for the bullpen, which was good. And we know that Matt Blake can turn these guys into fantastic pitchers.
Yep.
But the starting pitching is still questionable, so they do still need to require a starter. I do believe that Jordan Montgomery makes the most sense. If they're going to sign a pitcher. As far as trades go, there's a few different ways that they can go, but the question is who. We've gone over the names, right? We've gone over Corbin Burns. We've gone over Dylan Cease, Shane Bieber. All the guys from the Marlins. So, at this point, if the Yankees do decide, which it sounds like they're in on Jordan Montgomery, they're trying to work something out with him based on the stuff that I've been reading. I don't know if you guys did too.
I mean, the same. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, people are saying, the Yankees shouldn't have to overpay for him, but guess what? They're going to have to overpay. I mean, it's inevitable. Everyone that has been signed, whether it's Yamamoto, Montas, Giolito, these guys have all been overpaid. And let's throw in Severino in there too while we're at it.
Yep, you can do that. You're not wrong. The other thing is Giolito, who has been very inconsistent for the kind of arm he has, got paid $38.5 million by the Red Sox for 2 seasons. I would never pay a guy like that.
No.
I would not want to be a Red Sox fan right now. I would not want to be a Red Sox fan right now.
No, absolutely.
No, the Red Sox are just on a full teardown right now, man. So,
who knows what direction they're going in.
So their general manager trades away Chris Sale, right?
Mm-hmm.
Signs Giolito for a terrible contract.
Yeah.
And then he's like, and we're going to have to shed more salary before we take on any more salary. If I was a Red Sox fan, I'd be pissed.
I'd be furious. But there's also been rumors that the Yankees are being linked to Gio Urshela. To me, that makes zero sense at this point. Because we need pitching. We don't have room for Gio, unfortunately. As much as I liked Gio when he was here, I just don't think we have the room to bring him to the Yankees. He would be a role player. And that's about as far as he would get. We don't have a spot for him. Maybe he would rotate with DJ at third, but it's not really, he's not really going to be playing that much. So it doesn't make sense to go out and get Gio. Plus, I think the Blue Jays are probably going to be the heavy favorites to get him, which it sounds like from everything I've seen, heard, and read. But even still, why would we spend money on a position player when we know we need 2 starters?
I'll start. It says to me, my bad. Catherine's like, shit, I shouldn't have traded him. And I really shouldn't have said he's not Josh Donaldson. Oh, really sorry. Okay, in reality, I'm a huge Gio Urshela fan. The fact we traded him in the first place was disgraceful. I'll always be on that camp. It was a terrible, terrible trade. However, times have changed. We've moved on. We have Peraza. I want to give Peraza a chance. We haven't given Peraza a chance. I don't want to trade away Peraza yet. We haven't seen enough of him. I want to see more of him. I think there's a chance that he can be a solid third baseman, or when Torres does leave, because I don't believe we're going to extend him, he could play second base. I think that there is a role here for him, and I don't want us to take it away from him, because he hasn't done anything to show us that he can't be a starter at the major league level. I've looked at his defense. His defense is unbelievable. His defense is unbelievable at shortstop. Unbelievable at shortstop. I think one of the few games he played at short last year, he made the best play of the season. He did an unbelievable play on his ass. So and then when he played third, he played a very good third. I want us to give him a chance. You need to give him 150 at bats just for him to start getting, comfortable again. Because that's what we saw last year. Once he started getting regular at bats, that's when he started to be consistent. So that's just what we have to do. I know Cashman doesn't. Tyler's got it here. Cashman hates Peraza. I have no idea why, but he does. From what I'm seeing, he's just not all in on him. But I completely disagree with it. I'm a pretty tough critic with our prospects, but with him, there's a lot that I like. I like. I love his defense. So I give him a chance. So I would say no to Gio because, I'm totally on for bringing back Monty. I think another reunion just says to me that the Yankees aren't exactly being creative. They're just sort of like, shit, we really screwed up this last year too. Let's just try and bring them back. Don't think that's being creative.
That's fair. And what do you think?
Man, look, I like Urshela. Okay, when he was on the Yankees, I liked him. He was, great on the field. Great at bats, right? But at this point, why are we bringing him back? Why would the Yankees even consider bringing him back? They have way too many infielders as it is, and they have a lot of infielders in their minor league system. Some potential future infielders. You hear about all the names. I mean, they have Peraza. We've been talking about this for a long time now. They have Peraza. Why aren't the Yankees playing Peraza? And we need him to play a full season to see how he is as a player. Because we don't know, and we know he's good on the field defensively. He could play third base, no problem. Great at shortstop. I mean, I still say he should be the guy playing shortstop and Volpe should be playing second base. I know Volpe won a Gold Glove this year. I understand that, but Peraza's better at shortstop than Volpe is.
I agree.
100%. I think all of us fans can agree on that. But I was, also made a prediction in the offseason, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. I was making the prediction that maybe, Peraza he could start second base if they were to trade Torres. Because to like what Donald said, they're not going to extend Torres. They're not going to sign him back to a deal when he becomes a free agent. I just don't. So, why not play the guy? Let's play Peraza. Yeah. Play him in the infield along with Volpe. And, Hal has said that Volpe and Peraza are the future of the infield. But, of course, things could change. Just because one thing is said, they could do the opposite of whatever it is that they said, which is, classic, right? But there's no point in getting Urshela. Like I said, I like the guy, but what is the point of getting him? They have there is no point. They have an influx of infielders, so they should just deal with they should just deal with the players that they have right now, and not get another infielder. They should just solely be focusing on pitching, starting pitching, and the story. They still need to get 2 starting pitchers.
Yep.
Would I like a reliever along with that? I would like for them to get another reliever. However, the reliever is not. Hey, here we go.
Hey.
Oh my God.
Hey, Joba.
Salute. What's up, fellas?
How's it going?
Hey,
What's up?
My guy.
My guy, Joba.
Favorite Yankees ever. Salute, man.
How you doing, Joba?
Good, boys. How are you guys?
Good.
Good.
So
thanks for coming on.
What do we got going on tonight?
So we have a special guest with us. It is Joba Chamberlain. He was on with us on the Pinstripe Express a couple of days ago. Joba, thank you again for joining us. It's a pleasure having you. You are always welcome. How you been?
Man, good. Just definitely didn't make it to midnight the other day, so I was just like watching football and all this other stuff, and watching the games today. So other than that, it's been pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of good
Still see
football
it from
games.
the
There've been some decent games. There've been some blowouts, but
Yeah. So
I wasn't mad.
Are you
seeing
watching the Sugar Bowl right now?
Yeah, I got the game on the TV over here, watching Texas and Washington. My son might go to Texas, so I don't know how I feel about that, but we'll see.
I'm scouting Penix because he might be a good quarterback in the draft. So I like his arm.
I like him. Like, I think, this is obviously going to be a game, that Michigan game, that play call at the end. Like, what the hell are we doing?
Oh my God, what was that?
Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, I don't know shit about football, so it doesn't matter. I'm like, I don't know if I would have called that play. Like, what are we doing here?
When he called timeout, I was like, "Oh shit, he's gonna come out with some awesome play
It's
on
going to be
fourth and
something,
goal."
and that's what he came out with.
Quarterback draw right up the middle.
Yeah, cool, sweet,
Oh.
nice play call.
Yeah, great play call. So we were just talking a little bit about the whole rumor about the Yankees being interested in Gio Urshela, and both myself, Enefi, and Donald all think that doesn't make sense, especially since they need pitching, and that we have Peraza, who they're saying is the future of the middle infield. What do you think on that?
I got to play with Gio when I was in Cleveland, and I think he brings a dynamic, but obviously, if you're going to keep that aspect of your guys that you already have in there, and if that's what you're going to do, I think that's the lane I would stay in. Do I think Gio could obviously add a little bit? Yeah, 100%. But I also too at that point where if you feel like Peraza is going to be that dude, then let it ride out, see what happens. I mean, obviously, you got the Jason Dominguez and the Volpes and the guys coming up in the arms race and all that stuff. So I think it's where they need to. What direction are you going to go? Are you going to keep bringing these guys in, or are you going to trust the process of what you have going into it? And I think is it a good fit? But where is the fit at? Like where does he come into it to where it gels with what you're trying to create right now?
Well, you have a unique perspective because you played with him. Now, obviously, watching him, he was one of my favorite Yankees, actually, of the last few years. Until we traded him, I was completely against trading him in the first place. But I just think that, I don't know, bringing him back again, I kind of want to go younger. And Peraza's got incredible range at shortstop, and he's played a very good third base. So I just want to give him another chance. But tell me about what Gio's personality is in the locker room.
No, he's a good dude, and we talked about before on the show. It's just like that continuity and whatever, and it's sometimes when you bring a guy back, is there ill will? Is there is there feelings where sometimes those play more than you think? But he was always great to me, and that's the only thing that I can ever base anything on. And I think, he's a good clubhouse guy. He's a good dude in general. Ollie, love you too, bro. Appreciate you. But yeah, no, I think it's always weird when you come back because it's you don't know how it's going to be received. And then you have to answer the questions all the time of like, oh, they let you go. How do you feel coming back? And there's just things that go into it where, it's a different dynamic when you come back the second time. Right. And so do I think he's a good clubhouse guy? Hell yeah. I mean, he's a great dude, but when it comes down to it, is there any ill will towards whatever it is? Obviously, we're going to play and we're going to do everything that we want to do, but there's still some, hesitation maybe. And obviously I can't speak for him, but I don't know how he feels, but if he gets an opportunity in the right situation, is that the best fit for him? And that's kind of where, where it's at. And it's, I mean, obviously like the Jordan Montgomery situation,
yeah, perfect.
Where do you where do you go on that as well? So, I mean, it's tough coming back to a place that I wouldn't say necessarily just got rid of you, but obviously they traded you or did whatever, and then it becomes something else. So you never know the feelings that go into it of going back to teams, and we've seen it before. It's happened, but you just never know how they feel internally about what they're doing.
I wonder if there's an element of regret, because Cashman obviously said after he traded Gio, he was like, "Oh, well, we love Gio, but he's not Josh Donaldson." Well, that didn't work out too well. And then what did he say about Jordan Montgomery? Oh, well, Jordan Montgomery isn't good enough to make our playoff rotation. And Jordan Montgomery ended up being a World Series champion and the ace of the Rangers staff. Two embarrassing statements. So there has to be, like, it is a business, but sometimes you have to be a little bit smarter.
And it's like, oh, he wasn't going to be good enough, and then he goes out and just shoves it up your ass. Like, sorry, like, you didn't even make the playoffs, and over here I'm just winning titles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say, in that, is there an ill will where, like, if you do come back, like, do I just say, here's the middle finger and you can go suck it because I'm not coming back and I proved that I am better than what I am? So yeah, that's the part of it where you're just like, I mean, it's tough in more ways than one as a player, because you feel that way sometimes, when they get rid of you or whatever. And like, in all the years, there were trade talks, and me and Husey and getting traded and this, that, and another thing. But it's just like, okay, now I went and proved what you guys didn't think I was good enough to do. And now you want me back because I proved to what it is. And now it's like, oh, you just want me. I mean, at the same time, if they're going to give you 180 million, it's kind of hard to say no. But
I'm very much on the boat that we need to bring back Montgomery. I do think that there's more upside there. I think
right. No, I agree.
Stevie B, I scouted the minors when Joba Hughes and Ian Kennedy came up. Joba was the one prospect I wish the Yankees let play, either starter or reliever, and not have that stupid rule. I have to give you a big star for that, man, because so personally, Joba, you're one of my heroes growing up. When I was watching you guys, I thought you were incredible. So where were you most comfortable? Because you balled out as a starter and a reliever, but you were really good as a reliever. Where were you most comfortable?
And we touched on this a little bit. It was just I liked both of them. It was an aspect of just the consistency when if I started and whatever. And I love the backdrop because bam, there it is. I don't know if I've told, I haven't told this story, and the Yankees will probably whatever, but they can go fly a kite. There's only two of these. I grabbed one. I ran into the clubhouse. I grabbed one of our clubbies. I go, here's $500. Put this flag in my trunk right now, and don't say a word, and do it right now, because I'm not giving this son of a bitch back. Like, I am taking this with me. Like, there's nobody else that has one of these. Like, this is literally the one that I ran on the field with, and there's pictures to do it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not giving this back, because Johnny was running with the other one and he gave it back. And I'm like, I'm not giving this back. Like, I'm keeping this thing. Like, I don't care what it takes. You ain't getting this back from me. Put that bitch right in my trunk. And it has been with me ever since.
That's awesome. That's fantastic, man. So, Jason of 161 River Ave, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I know you were on with Hector when Joba was on a while back, but I know that there was a lot going on over the, with all these rumors and everything, what's been the rumor that has entertained you the most? I got to ask, Java.
Oh, I mean, obviously, as a baseball fan, I mean, it's not directly correlated, obviously, to the Yankees, but I think it's all the scuttlebutt that you hear about he's going here, he's going there. What I love are the surprises. What I love are when certain things happen that are unexpected. And, you hear this, you hear that, and it's like, okay, that may happen. It's a good fit, whatever. And then, something completely changes and, it becomes a completely different dynamic. So I think like the most, I guess, talk worthy or whatever you want to call it is, the ones that you don't hear about. Like you hear about all the ones that are supposed to happen, but I love hearing about the shit that doesn't happen. And then all of a sudden now they come out of left field, no pun intended, but then now you sign this guy. And so I think that's the most intriguing thing about what it is. And, like we've talked about before too, where it's like they need to make another move. And it may not be something that we've heard before or we've seen or read about, and where they make it happen. And so I think that's the most intriguing part of, kind of this off season. And man, it's, a month and a half away before we get to spring training. So there's going to be some splashes that are made. I mean, there's still a lot of great names out there that are going to obviously have to come off the books at some point. So I think that's the most intriguing part, to see where they go.
Java, yeah, I was just going to say, Java, could you imagine waking up tomorrow and Blake Snell's like, man, I've always wanted to be a Royal, man. Oh, Jesus Christ. In press conferences saying, it's been in my life's dream to play the Kansas City Royals.
Yeah, and you have no idea. You're like, oh, shit, really? Yeah. No. Yeah, you wanted to be a Royal when they offered you $190 million. Yeah, duh. I mean, I did win a World Series with the Royals, so I guess I can't complain. As I pull out my desk.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
That's the hard one.
Cheers to that.
That is dope.
I can't show you my Yankees one because my dad stole it from me. So my dad wears it every day.
How does it compare to them if you put them next to each other?
Actually, the Kansas City Royal is valued more than the Yankees one is.
Is it really? Because it's more rare?
I have no idea. I literally, honestly have no idea how the Royals was valued. Like literally insurance and all the other stuff. It literally is more valuable than, and I was like, why would that even be possible? It's the first year of a new stadium. They hadn't won. And I'm like, why is this valued more? Like
that damn barbecue in Kansas City, man.
But the crazy part too is they didn't make us pay for it in Kansas City. We had to pay for it in New York.
Did you really?
We had to pay for the taxes. It came out of our check, but the Royals paid for it all.
What the hell?
Yeah, I don't know how that works. Yeah, it was like $600 we paid in taxes on it.
What the? Jesus. That's crazy.
So, yeah, and
I just don't understand how that works. How the team makes the players pay for it, but the team itself, like the ownership, doesn't pay for it. Like in Kansas City, like what you were talking about. I don't understand how that works.
And it was crazy too, because after I left Kansas City and we won the World Series, I signed with Cleveland, and we opened up that year with the Royals. So Ned Yost and them brought over the ring and all the other stuff, and like they did the whole thing, like the evaluation of what the ring is worth. Like they had all of this stuff in there. I got my jersey. They gave gold jerseys to everybody, and so I had all that, and the Yankees just gave us a ring, and then I had to obviously go to insurance and get it. But literally, the Kansas City ring is valued more than the Yankees ring.
That is crazy to think about.
Wow.
That all stops, man.
And tell us about your experiences from these different tell us about your experience with these different organizations. Like, which organization like treated you with the most respect and had most like fan base interaction, or just something you're most comfortable in? Which organization like really did that for you?
Honestly, like, and I've never talked about this before at any podcast or on my podcast or anything. The Yankees sucked in the aspect that they didn't allow my son on the field.
Really?
Wow, I
And
didn't realize
so when I went through free agency, that was a huge part, because obviously Carter is a huge part of my life. And, you know, I want him to obviously be a part of it. And I mean, we would get, they literally would come down and kick me off the field if Carter was on the field. Like, they would kick me off.
I'm sorry to hear that, man. He's robbed it.
And which
that's
sucks
disappointing.
because it's such a.
I think Michael Cave talked about that before. That's a crazy rule.
Yeah, and it was dumb, and it made zero sense to me. It's like, don't you want your kids to be a part of it? Blah blah blah. And so when I was in the offseason, I'll never forget. I was sitting on my couch, and Brad Osmus had just got, which Brad now obviously is part of the Yankee organization. So I had a conversation with him, and the first question I asked, it wasn't about money. It wasn't about anything. I go, what are your standards on allowing kids in the clubhouse and everything? And he was like, yeah. And I go, that was a huge part to me, where it was crazy, because Cart came to opening day, and, you know, I'm running on the field, and Carter just stands in the dugout. And I go, Cart, what are you doing? He goes, I'm not allowed to go on the field. I go, no, this is a different game. And boom, it was him, Victor Martinez's son, Joe Nathan's son, and they were all in the outfield in their own uniforms, you know, doing Dave Clark. Literally, Dave Clark would hit them fly balls. If they missed them, they had to do 5 push-ups. Like, Omar Vizquel would hit them ground balls. Like, they were a part of the team.
Cool.
And that was, and when you ask that question, is like every time after that, like then when I went to Cleveland and got to be with Tito, and Francona is one of the most unbelievable people I've ever met. Like, he hated me. We've had conversations. Obviously, we had our battles with the Red Sox when he was the manager. And then when he went to ESPN, I'll never forget walking into spring training, and Tito's going down. He's like, I can talk to you now because I don't hate you anymore. And I was like, appreciate that. Appreciate that.
He's a legendary manager. Fantastic man.
His only rule when I signed with Cleveland, he goes, kids are more important than anything. They can do whatever they want. He goes, I have one rule. They come say hi to me.
Nice.
And that's it.
That's it.
And then they got to do whatever they wanted to do.
That's pretty cool that Tito was like that. He always seemed like, just from watching him on TV, he always seemed like that type of manager that really did care about his players. And it wasn't just like, yeah, he's a player, so, you know, go, he can do what he wants. Like, he had structure, but it wasn't overbearingly structured. Like, he allowed the player to be a player, if that makes sense.
He was a player's manager for sure. Like, and it was cool because, like, I was old at that point. So, like, I got to pick my locker, and Corey Kluber and Josh Tomlin were right next to me. But Carter had his own locker. Carter had his own locker in Detroit. Carter had his own locker in Cleveland. And, like, it literally,
that's cool.
You know, he had 25 dads. Like, literally, Carter got kicked out of the training room because Danny Salazar was dragging him by his feet because they were messing around with each other. And, like, they came up and they're like, hey, we had to kick Carter out. I was like, 100%. Like, he's in the clubhouse. If he's doing dumb shit, kick him out. Like, I don't care. And Carter still remembers it to this day. I mean, it's
That's
just
great.
like those cool things where, you know, Carter obviously was, you know, in the clubhouse with the Yankees and everything, but it was just so different when we went to other places because, like, he felt like he was a part of it. I mean, when we went, literally, Cleveland, we were playing Detroit, Carter was actually in town with me. And Carter just walked to the other side and went into Detroit and was playing with Kinsler and like just doing his stuff with his Cleveland stuff on. But yeah, no, it was completely different. That's one thing like that I always looked at after, it was certain things and that happened with the Yankees. And I'll never forget, I was with Mitchell Modell and, his kids, and they tried to kick us off the field after a game. And the boys were just playing. Like we weren't, the boys were just on the field. It's like, I'm there. Like, yeah. I just didn't get some of the things they did from that aspect of, trying to create whatever. But yeah, no, I think that was the biggest difference, was just the accessibility of certain things.
Was that a Joe Torre thing? Like, who blocked you guys in the Yankee land?
I have no idea. I don't know if I never asked. It was, I think it was more of a front office kind of, hey, this is the way we're going to do it. We're going to structure it like this is work, this is work, this is work. But, if you're happy as a father and whatever, like that translates to you being a better pitcher and, being in the right headspace and all that stuff. So I don't know where it came from. Honestly, I guess I never really asked. But yeah, like, I mean, there were times where, I'll never forget a specific time in Chicago when my son was there and Dante, who was Joe Girardi's son. And then Jafet Rivera was Mo's son. Mm-hmm. And the boys are just hanging out. And Joe was just like, hey, they can hang out, just, it's fine. Just don't let them go anywhere. So I don't know truly, genuinely where that came from. That was just something that always, as I moved on and went to different teams, seeing how much my son enjoyed coming to the field and being a part of it, where we didn't generally have that. I mean, he could be in the clubhouse and he could do all that stuff, but as soon as the clubhouse, like, they had to go. Where on other teams is like, as soon as we got ready, then the kids had to leave, which 100% I get. But then they just ran and roamed and did kind of whatever. They went to the suite, they went to the kids' room, they did whatever. So, that was just kind of the different dynamic of that, I guess.
That's interesting.
I'm sorry.
I never.
Yeah.
That sucks. I never knew that the Yankees were like that, where it was like, no, you can't have your kids on the field. Like, you would think they'd be more, friendly towards that, but that sucks.
Well, they're pretty.
It's got to be crushing to a kid. That's got to be pretty crushing to the kids. To say, oh, you're not allowed to go onto the field. It's like, let them go onto the field. Like, what's the? I don't understand what the big deal is. I guess I'm trying to wrap my head around it.
We could go onto the field before BP and whatever, and we could do our stuff, right? Okay. But then, like when I went to Detroit, it was like, now it's like during BP, Carter's room in the outfield. Before it was just like, it would just be him and I, and we'd be playing catch. I'd be throwing to him or doing whatever. But now Carter's catching fly balls and like real life, like major league players. And like, I think that's what's made my son a great baseball player, because he had that opportunity to, like, you're catching big league fly balls. Like, this isn't just me hitting little slappy fly balls to you. Like, you're seeing it off the bat. You're reading it off the bat. Yeah. And I think that's what's made my son so good, that he's had those experiences. And, I think that's a huge part. Yeah. Oh, he'll be 18 in April.
Oh, cool. Okay. And you're saying he's want to go to Texas?
Well, we got Nebraska, Texas. He's committed to a junior college in Kansas. Then we got Central Connecticut, UConn, Boston College, and the University of Tampa. So.
Oh, wow. Which one are you wanting him to go to? Do you have a preference?
I want him to play and be happy. Yeah. I mean, that's sitting on the bench doesn't do shit for you.
No.
And so, just he's growing now. I mean, he's 6'4", 210 now. So he's grown up a little bit. He's taller than his father, which I hate to admit. It sucks. He gives me shit about it, and he's like, "Dad, did you get shorter?" I'm like, "Shut up, Carter! Like, I don't want to hear your shit." I should send him the link so he can jump in so I can talk shit to him. But
Job, you could probably still whoop his ass.
oh no, he'll still get ass whooping. He'll still get ass whooping. Don't you worry. Don't you worry about that. Like we'll still take care of that. I still got that. But no, it's fun. I just want to see him play. I'm so fortunate in the fact that he has the opportunity to play at the next level, and we'll see what happens. Who knows? I mean, you never know.
So I got to ask you, because I wanted to ask you last on Saturday, but who got you into baseball? Like, how did your love of the game become the love of baseball? Like, who got you into it?
My dad. I started keeping book when I was 3 years old, and I think it was so crazy too, because obviously my dad's been paralyzed since he's been 8 months old. He got the polio epidemic in '52, and so, but he loved baseball. And so we would sit there and watch baseball, and, I would keep book, and just that's the love of the game. And we were fortunate enough, we had TBS here in Nebraska. So I got to watch baseball every day. I got to watch the Braves every day. I had WGN, so I could either see the Cubs or the White Sox. So we had the opportunity to watch baseball every day. Obviously, the Yankees weren't a huge part. Dad was a Yankees fan. He's a Mickey Mantle fan. And so, you only got to watch the Yankees usually on Sunday night. And that's the only time that we could usually get them, because regionally, obviously, we had TBS and WGN.
Yeah.
And so it was just, we had that chance to watch baseball. And that was the one thing, that we bonded on. And because he loved it, and, he loved it because he could never do it. And it's the one thing why I think I love baseball more, is because my dad never forced the game on me. He just showed me the game. He showed me the game and how great the game is, and how you're playing chess, you're not playing checkers, like matchups and, things like that. And, Dad obviously didn't have the opportunity to play it, but he's a smart man. He was the judge in the prison, and, just a very smart man. And he understands, certain things. And, he challenged me to, keep old book as the Godfather. Yeah, we can talk about that. But yeah, I mean, it's just that love came from, just seeing, Dad show me what it was, but never forcing it on me. So it never was like I had to do it. It was like something that I just wanted to do because he loved it. And it's like, well, you see the love that your dad has for it. You just go, and I just so happened to be decent at baseball. So it turned out all right.
There you go. So
that's what's special about baseball, is because it's always generational. It's passed on to the generations. And it's something that other sports just doesn't quite have to the same meaning as baseball does. Like my grandfather, he was the one that made me fall in love with the Yankees. My first game was David Cohn's perfect game at the stadium. It's just, these are the special bonding moments, me and my grandfather watching David Cohn pitch a perfect game and celebrating together. And then these are the kind of memories that last a lifetime,
I was at that game too.
Oh, were you? Where were you?
Loge, section 463, Loge side, first base side, second level. My mom had season tickets.
Nice.
Yeah, we're at that game. The rain delay against the Expos.
I'll never forget.
Don Larson was there.
That's what was amazing about it. It was that's what the Yankees have, that these ghosts, these situations that you could never imagine.
But wasn't that Yogi Berra Day too?
Yeah, it was. It was Yogi Berra Day.
Yeah, they were making amends. I think there was some kind of beef, and he was there, and Don Larson was there. It just happened the stars just happened to align that day perfectly.
Yeah,
there was a beef because George Steinbrenner fired Yogi while he was the Yankee manager, and it was totally unfair. And Yogi basically didn't speak to the Yankees or go to a Yankee game for a long, long time. until they
Yep.
made amends at that point. So it was all written in the stars. An incredible day.
It was a rain delay that day. It was just
It
it was crazy, man.
Yeah.
I've been lucky. I was at Jim Abbott's no hitter.
Really?
Wow, now we're going into it.
I was at Dwight Gooden's no hitter. So
Oh shit!
and yeah, I was really lucky. My mom had season tickets for like 2 decades, and
wow.
for a job, and I used to go with her all the time. My dad used to fall asleep at the games, so when his mom's like, "I'm not taking this guy, I'm taking my son," so she started taking me, and we were at the clincher for '96, the clincher for '99, 2009 clincher. We sat in the bleachers. So,
Oh, shit.
so
I've never in my career never seen a no hitter.
Oh God, I mean, the Jim Abbott no hitter was crazy. I sat behind home plate that game.
Wow.
And, that was crazy. Matt Noakes was catching, and Alvaro Espinosa, like it was crazy. Don Mattingly was playing first base. Like it was nuts. But that was a classic no hitter. Dwight Gooden's was at nighttime. That was intense, but there was a special feeling about the David Cone perfect game. It felt different. It felt different. You knew early on, like, yo, this guy's onto something, man. He's really onto something, and like it builds during a no hitter, but it builds tenfold during a damn perfect game.
Yeah,
like
I know.
Side note, I'm gonna tangent off this. Do you think Don Mattingly's a Hall of Famer?
I do. I honestly, like, he was the best for a stretch period of time. I mean, I understand him. Some folks might need a couple more years of that stretch for him and good health and all that stuff, but I do think he merited Hall of Fame consideration. What about you, Jabba? Do you feel that way?
Yeah, and the one thing that like I always think about, and obviously you get a period of time of where you're voted for or not. Your numbers don't change, so why do your votes change? I don't understand that. Like,
great point.
And actually, somebody that brought that to my attention that I'd never really like thought about is Mo was like, why, if you're not in the first time, you get in on your last time? It's just because there's not enough people, or like your numbers don't change. Nothing changes.
Such a good
And how do we give votes? Like when Derek didn't get 100%, the one dude that didn't vote, didn't even put in a ballot, was like, oh, he's already in the Hall of Fame. Well, he's not. And you didn't even put, like, how are we giving these guys votes at that point?
Yeah.
And I don't understand how it changes, because the numbers don't change. They still are who they are.
It's
And I
true.
played with Andrew Jones. Like
Posada too.
I mean, and as a Braves fan, I'm gonna say, like, how didn't Dale Murphy get in? Like,
oh God.
Yeah, that's
when you have to start petitioning and doing all these other things. It's like, my numbers are my numbers. They don't change.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like now sometimes too, it becomes the Hall of Average. It doesn't become the Hall of Fame. Where now 100%. It's like, oh, because we are all humans. We all have certain things. Maybe he shunned you in an interview and you're like, I'm not voting for him. Well, that doesn't take away from the fact of what he did in the game.
Yeah.
100%.
How do you feel about Pete Rose, Jabba? How do you feel about Pete Rose?
I don't give a shit if you gamble on anything. You got 4,000 hits.
Thank you.
You're in the fucking Hall of Fame.
Yeah, all freaking day. Thank you for that. To the men.
That. Let's expand it. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens.
So,
yeah.
Barry Bonds was a Hall of Famer before his forehead got 7 sizes bigger.
Exactly.
It was already there. Like,
A-Rod. A-Rod's one of the best hitters and best fielders of his generation.
So here's another one I didn't understand, and maybe you can, shed some light on this. But why did it take for Fred McGriff to not get voted in on his 12th time on the ballot to get voted in by the Veterans Committee or whatever it was that voted him in? Why did it take so long to get him finally into the Hall of Fame? I don't care that he didn't have 500 career homers. He was the best of his generation, and the generation that was starting to become, tainted with steroids. Why did he not get any love to get in until after his time on the ballot was up?
That's Lee Smith. He had 450 saves, and he had to get in by the committee too.
I didn't understand that one either.
So I like how the committee has a vote now. Like, and I think it shouldn't have to come to that, but that is to my point of like, because there's certain people now that are on the ballot where you have to vote for them or you don't have to vote for them. I just don't understand, because numbers don't change. They are still there. And just because now they're coming off of certain, guys now are eligible, it's like, well, yeah. I mean, we all know who's first ballot guys. We've all watched the game. We know, we're not stupid. But why now in year 9 or year 10? Oh, now he's a Hall of Famer, but he wasn't the first 8 or 9 years. I don't understand that. I don't get what makes sense about any of this. And I get it. If you don't get a certain percentage, whatever. Like, there are some people that, had good numbers and they're on it. But we know they're not Hall of Famers. Like, we know it. But there are certain. Took Phil Rizzuto 32 years. Yeah, true. But it's also at the same time, I'm like, the numbers don't change. And just because there's other people that come into the question, now that changes what it is in your vote. Like, I don't understand that.
Well, that's where I'm at with like Roger Clemens. Look at his numbers. He dominated the sport for years, and he doesn't get any recognition for it now.
Kurt Schilling is the same way.
And that's for political reasons.
Kurt Schilling
that's
can
not even to do with steroids. That's politics.
Kurt Schilling, I don't give a shit. I hope he doesn't get in the Hall of Fame. And he said whatever he said. But he came out when he was on ESPN, when I blew my ankle out jumping on a trampoline with my son, and called me out for being a bad dad. You shouldn't be doing that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm playing with my son. If I was doing wiffle ball and he hit me in the eye and I got hurt, like,
why does that matter?
Man, I'm being a fucking dad. Like,
why does that matter?
And then I tried to reach out to him, crickets, nothing. He didn't want to have anything to do with me, nothing. I'm like, that dude can go fly a kite, go kick rocks.
He was afraid to talk to you. That he talked all that stuff on ESPN, but wouldn't talk to you, right? Like a man.
Yeah, I'll bust his ass.
My man.
Clemens was a cool dude, man. Clemens was a cool dude. He was
Clemens was awesome. Like,
I met him in a year ago.
That was my first year, and when he came back, and I was hurt, and he would take us to dinner, and like when he was getting ready to go back and do all of his stuff, and I was obviously still in Tampa rehabbing my hamstring, and him and Billy Connors was there, God rest his soul, and he would take us to dinner, and he kind of taught me the ropes. And I actually had a great. I was in college still, trying to figure out what who I was going to sign with as an agent, and I had Boris and everybody under the sun. And we went to Texas. My son's mother, their family lived in Texas, so we went there, and we got to go to Roger's house, and I still text with his kids that play, and just having that experience, and he was awesome. He was great, and it's those things. It's like, you can say whatever you want to say about him, and whatever it is, but like, their numbers speak for themselves.
Yep.
And that's the way it should be. If it's the Hall of Fame of what it is, and Jason, to your point, like Pete Rose, like it's one of the greatest players we've ever seen.
Hands down.
And the fact you're not in there, you put Ty Cobb in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
You want to go look at Ty Cobb's story and how of a piece of shit person he was, but he's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Roger Clemens came to one of the shows that my mom was working at, the theater that and I met him. I was standing taking a leak next to him in the urinal.
Oh
He was
shit!
He was taking a leak next to me. I said, "Oh shit, this is my favorite player of all time," and I was starstruck. I mean, I'm like, this guy's staring at my dick. Like I didn't know what he was thinking. Like I wanted to meet him. I said, so I introduced myself to him in the bathroom, and
I
he
mean,
couldn't.
you were staring at his.
Story, bro.
I swear to God,
That is a story, bro. I met
swear to
Roger
God.
Clemens in the pisser. It was amazing.
I washed my hands. Well, he couldn't have been a nicer guy. He walked me up the stairs. He talked to me for a few minutes during intermission. He could not have been a nicer guy. Such a
Fuck,
cool dude.
man.
And
So-
it's always cool too when you meet your favorite athlete, celebrity, when they're down to earth and they're really cool.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's scary, though. Sometimes that's scary. Because
That's true. This is true.
Obviously, as a Braves fan, Chipper Jones is literally like my favorite. I got to play with Andrew Jones, which was absolutely incredible. But it was 2009, and I was pitching against the Braves. I'd started against Kenjin Kawakami, and I'll never forget this because that's when pitchers hit. And I hit a line drive off of Kenjin Kawakami's neck.
Oh,
Shit.
And so, like, I freeze, obviously, because that's the worst thing you could ever do, right? Like, hit a pitcher when you're a pitcher. And so, like, I don't run right away. Chipper gets it, throws it first. Like, I run like halfway down and I run back. And Chipper's like, "Would you just trying to take my pitchers out?" And I was like, "Oh, shit." And then, so, like, I'm a Braves fan through and through. It's like a complete dream to me, right? Like 2009 was such a complete dream because I called my dad because I walked and I seen Old Fulton County because they still have the parking lot where the old stadium was before they moved to Truist. And, you know, I was like, oh God, these are the games that I watched. And like, I call my dad and like, I'm 23 years old. Like I'm still just a young kid. And so I got a pitch and ended up pitching well. I ended up winning the game. Jeff Rancour hit a homer off a hanging slider. I'll never forget it. And so the next day I'm running and Jason Zillow comes to my locker and he's like, "Hey, Chipper wants to see you and meet you." And I'm like, "Shut the fuck up." Like, no, he doesn't. Like, he don't know who the hell I am. Like, what? No. And so, like, I'm being a bitch at this point because I call my dad and I'm like, "Dad, Chipper actually he said he wants to meet me." And my dad's like, "What are you doing? Like, go meet him." I go, "I'm scared." What if he's not what I looked up to my entire life? Like, if he wore his pants up that day, I wore my pants up. If he wore them down, I wore them down. Like, and I'm like, he's like, "Justin Lewis, get your ass out there." And my dad doesn't cuss. My dad does not cuss. And I was like, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." And so I go out there. He gives me like a big hug. And it salt in the wound because he went like 2 for 4 off me with a double. And all I wanted to do was strike him out. And I'm like, damn it. So one of my buddies, he texted me after the game. And he was like, "Hey, 2 things. Your cleats are dope, and Chipper owns you," because he knew that Chipper was my guy. I was like, "First of all, you can go hit rocks because you're an asshole. Thanks, appreciate it." He goes, "Nice win though," and I'm like, "Yeah." And so Girardi got thrown out that game, and you know, it was just. I remember going out after I hit Kenjin Kawakami, and I looked at Bobby Cox, and I was just like, "Hey, my bad." Like, and he was just like, "No big deal." And so, like, I see Chipper, and he gives me a big hug, and he was like, "Man, I followed your story. I love the relationship that you and your father have. That's kind of the same thing with me and my dad." So, like, I relaxed a little bit, and to make it even worse, like I said, salt in the wound, I go, "Chip, my MO is to finish you with a back foot slider, right?" So I was like, I'm going to beat him with a heater away. It was 97 away on the black, and he hits a double down the line. And I go, "Were you looking for that?" He goes, "Nope, I just guessed." I'm like, fuck you. Like, really? Thanks. At least make me feel good about it. Like make me feel like I made a good pitch. Nope. I just guessed. Yeah, that's why you're a Hall of Famer. Okay. Thanks. Appreciate that.
So, what was it like playing with guys like Jeter and Mo and Pettit? Like, as a 23-year-old, brand new to the majors, you haven't even played a year yet. You had just gotten to the majors, and you're playing with, 3 future Hall of Famers: Jeter, Mo, and Pettit, and even you can have Posada to that conversation if you want to. What was it like playing around them?
They were all so different in the aspect of like how we talked about before and like the core leadership and shit like that, where they were all so different. And it was, just having certain personalities where, you could talk to about different things. And I think that's what was the greatest thing about it, was where you could approach them in the aspect of talking about certain things. And I think that was the biggest thing of having those guys, is because they've been through it. Obviously, Derek's in his story of like wanting to quit because he had like 1,900 errors and wasn't doing stuff, and in that aspect. And then Andy obviously coming back from Houston and, coming back to the Yankees and doing that stuff. I just think it was a sense of relief where you never felt like you couldn't go talk to them, and they were available at any point to just, go, shoot the shit, or just, have a conversation. And I think that was huge, and that was important, more so than just obviously what they've done on the field. And I think that's why those guys were so great at what they did, is because not only did they lead by example on the field, but they did it off the field as well. And, it just made a young kid coming into obviously what I did, because it was completely different than, all those guys. I mean, I only spent 2.5 months in the minor leagues. And so just being around those guys and having the access and the knowledge of what they had, because I didn't have it. I was still new to the game and everything of the process of what the big leagues was and what the Yankees are. And it's completely different. And just being able to have access to those guys, not only being a teammate, but also being a person. And I think that's what made them all great.
And which Yankee legend had the biggest influence on your success as a Yankee in your career?
I mean, I think as a whole, I think it's all of them. I mean, obviously CC was a huge part of my life, and I got to know C a little bit before even he came to the Yankees, when I first came up, and, just kind of how I grew up, and, the way he grew up, and we obviously we bonded in that aspect. But, I think all of them. I mean, I'll never forget, I got a message from Mike Mussina in 2009 when I struggled in a couple first outings. He goes, "You better figure it out so I don't have to come out of retirement." And like Moose was great, because I was just a pain in the ass, right? Like, cause I'm new to this. Like, this is the only thing I've ever wanted to do in my life was, I'm in the big leagues. I'm with these guys, right? And so I would just bug Moose, because Moose would always be like looking at tractors and looking at stuff. And he's doing his crossword and doing all this stuff. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I was just like that little, like, dumbass kid that just never stopped bothering him. Right. And so Moose had a rough year in 2007, and he got moved to the bullpen. And so I'm sitting there, and like one of the greatest accomplishments, and it's not even an accomplishment, I guess, but when Moose came to the bullpen, he gave me a hug. And I was like, man, that means like I've been that gnat to his ass. And he's like, okay, I just have to give in to this kid. And I was fortunate enough to pitch in the game, and I almost blew it. It was in Boston, and it was his first time he's ever won 20 games in a season. And I got a pitch in the game, and mind you, I almost blew it. But like just being able to do that, and like I broke him a little bit, and he gave me a hug, and it's those are the things you'll never forget. Everybody always ask, what do you miss the game? I go, I don't miss being gone. I miss the camaraderie. I miss, the plane rides and, me on the bus being just that, that little gnat and just like looking over their shoulder and being that guy. And it's just those things that you miss a little bit. And so that's one of the coolest things was when he gave me a hug, and I was just like, man, maybe, I've made it a little bit. And just obviously continue to grow from there.
My co-host here on the Pinstripe Chronicles is asking, was Mariano approachable in the pen?
Yeah, I mean he was, but like he was just so different in the aspect of like, and I played catch with him, and it was just like he was so different in what he did. Like he was just so methodical about everything. Like he was different. I mean, you go down, he's probably one of the top 5 pitchers, I don't care, starter, reliever, whatever, to ever play the game. Like, I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, being able to play catch with him and play long toss and do all those things. And then it kind of really hit me. There was always a stretch where Mo would blow like 1 or 2 saves, right? And everybody would think the world's ending. The world's ending.
True.
And so I'll never forget, Mo and I were playing catch, and then he wanted to throw a flat ground. And so Hart comes over, Mike Harkey comes over, he catches, and he's like, Joba, stand in. Obviously, I've never stood in on Mo at the plate, but he's throwing a flat ground, and I'm standing there. And literally, like, I never, ever understood until I saw what he does. And I'm like, this ball's going to hit me. Nope.
I'd be
And you're just
shitting
like,
myself.
how do you do, like, I tried to throw it. Couldn't do it. And
No.
I that was the time where I'm like, man, I don't know what it is. The good Lord obviously has blessed you with something that nobody else has. And it was incredible. And he was just so methodical about what he did, and just the way he was able to repeat his delivery and do all that stuff. And he was very approachable. Like it was one thing when you talk about pitching, and then I will say he wasn't very good about getting the bullpen together for like dinners and stuff. Like we literally only went to dinner one time. It was like, I think my last year, and like I had to arrange the dinner. I'm like, Mo, we were in San Francisco. I'm like, no, you arrange it. He goes, no, you arrange it. We'll take everybody out. And I'm like, okay. That's about it.
That's great.
How many of the players do you still stay in touch with, and how often do you stay in touch with them?
There's a bunch here and there. Obviously now, a lot of them, kids are getting older, getting busy and whatever, but yeah, I mean, there's a handful that I still, we still, talk and, try to get together and certain stuff. But yeah, I mean, you just create lifelong relationships and in those things, and you get to see, and that's the one good thing about social media, I guess. I mean, social media is not obviously the greatest thing in the world, but it is because, you get to see kids grow up, and you get to see what they do. And, when you post about your kid or something and somebody texts you like, holy crap, he's getting huge. And, so I think that's a great value of social media, just because everybody's lives get pulled into 10 different directions. And so that's part of it that I really enjoy, where you can, still follow, your teammates and those things, and, get to see how they grow, and, their successes and everything that goes along with it. So yeah, there's a hands. Old Timers Day. I'll go to Old Timers Day when I'm 40. I'm not 40
There
yet.
you go.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'm assuming Cece's probably the guy you stay in touch with the most because you talk about him quite a bit, and
You
it
talk
sounds
very
like you guys
highly.
had a very close relationship when you guys were playing together.
Yeah, no, he's great. I mean, Pet too. It's those guys that make an impact not only on you as a baseball player, but as a father.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
you see those things. Shit, I got 46 tattooed on my arm because Andy taught me what sacrifice was, and but still how to be a father and do those things, and stay in the moment and make sure that you're still still embedded in what your kids do, even though you're away, and in those things. So yeah, there's been so many people that have touched my lives in so many ways, and that I can't even begin to express the gratitude and the thankfulness for those guys of being in my life, and obviously being in Carter's as well. And it's just it's such a family in the game of baseball, and we all go through it, and we all have families, and we all have certain things, and it's just it's so cool, like our baseball family, and how it's all relative to one another. And we all go through ups, downs, ins and outs, and you're still, at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
baseball doesn't define you as a person. It's your kids and what they do. So I've had some really great people that have been in front of me to be able to show me those things, and I am forever grateful for that.
So your
Awesome,
MO is
awesome.
your vicious slider. It's one of the best sliders in the league in your heyday. How did you develop it?
I mean, I guess I mean, shit, I don't know. I wasn't very good at pitching. I just pitched. I didn't know what the hell I was doing half the time, honestly. And I'll be perfectly honest. I don't know. I'll never forget when I got to Kansas City, and Chris Young, who obviously now is the president of the Rangers, he came up to me and he's like, "Man, you repeat your delivery so good." And I'm like, "I think I suck, but okay." Like, whatever. No, and like Jorge came out, and I actually still have this article saved to this day, and it was like, what are the best pitches you ever caught? And like he said, my slider, and I was just like, I mean, I literally, my first ever strikeout in the big leagues was against Ray Almeida in Toronto, and I shook off 3-2. I shook off Jorge, and like I think about this now, like I'm a dumbass 20-year-old kid, 21-year-old kid, and I'm shaking off Jorge Posada. Like, what am I doing? But it was like that was the pitch that I want, and you can ask anybody. Like, it's literally like 3-2. I'm gonna go to a slider 90% of the time. And like I'm shaking them off, and I'm just like, what the hell did I just do? I mean, I got the strikeout, but I'm just like,
Of course you did. Your slider was insane.
and when he said like it was the best slider that he's caught from all the guys that he's caught, I was like, all right, I guess I'll take that. Yeah, no.
The best I've ever seen.
I mean, you had one of the biggest breaks on your slider that I've ever seen out of any pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't remember the last time I've seen a slider break like that, and that was probably the most impressive I've been, because like I said, I've never seen a slider break that much before.
Facts, Mazza, facts.
Yeah. I mean, I learned it in college from Rob Childress, who now is the pitching coach at Nebraska again. He was my pitching coach here, and then he went to be the head coach at Texas A&M. And then now he's back here, and he's the head pitching coach now. But yeah, he kind of showed it to me, and I kind of just played it from there, and kind of gained strength and confidence in it. And I think that's probably the biggest thing, was just I believed in it. It was a pitch where, like, if I felt like out of whack, like with my delivery and everything, it got me back over the rubber. It got me back over the plate. And it was something that I always relied on, just because it was something that I could throw for a strike, and I could also bury it. And, I could throw it 84, 85, but I could also throw it 89, 91. and finish you on the back foot. So it was just, I think, the confidence in it, and it was just the trusting of what it was. And I think that's the biggest thing when we talk about pitching is like, I would rather throw a pitch with conviction than the right pitch.
Yeah.
And if it's not the right pitch, and then if you feel like, okay, I know in this situation, because now in certain situations, this is what this guy does, this is what he does, boom, boom, boom. Know your MO and what you do. But then also you're like, well, if I'm throwing a pitch without conviction, I'm going to get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather throw the wrong pitch necessarily in the count with conviction than the right pitch without conviction.
That makes sense.
And you bring up a good point, because we talked about this last time too, and you brought about like having teammates that kind of let the young kids be the young kids, let them grow, let them develop, right? And having that right chemistry and that right cohesiveness that fit in those puzzles of the pieces, right? And it resonates me a lot, because I'm wondering, I wanted to ask you is, do you feel there are a couple of guys right now around that would be really good fits to this current Yankee team and give you that 2009 vibe that they could bring? And like, would Jordan Montgomery represent somebody who you think would be a good fit here, or someone else who would be a good fit with these veterans now that we have?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of pieces that are still out there that could fit in that dynamic. But it's also, we're not in the clubhouse, so we obviously don't know what that feel is, and what Aaron and what Garrett and those guys feel like it needs to be. And I think that's a huge component of what I feel like, and we touched on this, a couple days ago, and where I think that's more of a conversation of talking to the players and the understanding, and just not being front office only.
Yep.
And making that decision. I think it needs to be a whole organizational process from top to bottom, and bottom obviously being the players, and and the Steinbrenners and Cash and everybody else in between.
Yeah.
But I think there's pieces, but it's also like, we can see and we can read, we can do all that stuff and watch, but we're obviously not behind closed doors.
Yeah. So
we don't know where, in essence, what that need is.
And to your point too, is that, are you happy that Hal is listening to Judge and Garrett
Finally,
Cole to get a taste of a sense of what the players want, right? And
finally, and I think that's a huge part of it. And I think that's why I said before, it's let them, not necessarily let them dictate it, but let them have the aspect of like, I don't think this is what we need, or hey, I think this is a good fit. Like, talent is one thing, and I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with any of that. But it's also chemistry and continuity, kind of what we talked about on Saturday, is a huge part. And if that doesn't fit to what we want to do and to get to where we want to be, because at the end of the day, you want to walk away and you're the last one standing, right?
Yep.
And that's a huge part. I think there's a lot of pieces that are still out there that could help, but I also don't know that answer because we're not there every day.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge part of what they need to understand in every aspect, from obviously a talent side, but also a personality side, a clubhouse side, and all the stuff that goes along with it.
Meaning, essentially, the way I interpret is the biggest names are not always the best fits.
100%.
And the Yankees don't always have to be the biggest spenders. They have to bring in the right players, right?
I mean, you have the pieces to the puzzle already. It's just trying to find those little other ones.
Yep.
Where, and then, like you said, Jason, it's sometimes the biggest name maybe not be the best fit. And and that's okay.
100%.
Like that is okay. But finding the right fit for the guys that you already have and that you know are going to fit into the clubhouse, that are going to contribute, they're going to, be a non-detrimental factor of like, is it a cancer? Is they're going to be a part of something where you all want to get to the same spot. Like I talked to Toriano, I had him on my show a couple weeks ago, and he'll literally say, he goes, I'll give all my money away. Never won a world championship. And that's something we play the game for. Yeah. Do we make a lot of money? Yeah. 100%. Yeah. But if you're playing the game for the right reason, that's where you want to be. You want to be the last one standing. You want to have the Ticker Day parade. You want to do that. And that's something that some guys never get to experience. And, I think, when you get to surround yourself with people that's the end goal, and that's the sole reason of what we're doing, then let's do it. Then let's get the right people on board and let's get it going from there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. Exactly. Yeah.
That's exactly how I think. That's how Jason, Donald, and NFE and myself all think. It doesn't have to be the biggest or the sexiest move. It just has to be a piece that's going to fit within that puzzle, like you said, and that continuity and what's going to click with the clubhouse. It can't always be, hey, let's go out and get the top guy on the free agent market, because maybe that top guy is not going to fit. Prime example, Josh Hader. There's been multiple talks about him, and I don't think he's going to fit. I've spoken with NFE about this. I've spoken with Jason about this. Donald's probably seen it from our group chat and Uncle Tats and whatnot. I don't think it's going to be a good fit. Is he one of the top guys on the market? Yeah, but with his attitude and what happened with him in San Diego last year, when he said no to his manager about a 4-out save, that's not going to fly here. You've experienced, Yankee Stadium and Yankee fans. You know how it goes, but that wouldn't fly here. So we don't think that will be a good fit. So yeah, the sexiest move is always the best move.
No, and it's not. And yeah, I got to know Josh a little bit when I was in Milwaukee, and New York would eat him up. And we've seen it. And AJ Burnett's a great friend, but it ate him up. Look how he thrived in Pittsburgh, because it was completely different, right? Not to say AJ's talent wasn't capable enough, right? But you saw him in Toronto. Doc took away some of the stuff, and AJ was AJ. And then AJ goes to Pittsburgh, and they just adore him.
Yep.
It was completely different. New York is a different animal. And I don't, not to say I don't, like I said, talent is always talent, right? But when you're in New York, it's a different animal.
Yeah.
Where there's levels to it.
Absolutely.
And like, if you can't basically push things to a side or whatever and just handle it, and they'll eat you alive. That's just the way it is. And that was the one thing that I learned very quick. I go, just be honest and upfront, because then the media can't do anything. You take away the power of the pen and just be honest. And there's some people that don't. Look how they up Carl Pavano. Look how Randy Johnson, when he came in, he won 17 games 2 years in a row, and New York hated him. And he won 17 games 2 years in a row. It's made for some people. It's not.
Yeah.
And some people just don't get it, and they won't. And that's when it comes back to finding the right fit. It may not always be the sexiest, and it may not be what it is, but you find a guy that can understand it, and you bring in Swish. He embraced it. He embraced what it was.
Swish loves New York.
Yeah. Obviously he's still around, and he's still doing, like, was he the best of players? No. Like, he wasn't. And so I'm just like, you find that right fit. and it doesn't always have to be the sexiest. And you guys are 100% right on that. And it's finding, but to the point where now I feel like they're talking to the players more and getting that fit. And now you legitimately have two managers. And what's Osmus' role going to be to Booney? Like, what is it going to be? And, as a guy that's been a manager, played for 18 years, and he was obviously one of my managers, and he was great. He was great. And so I think they're in a great position with what they have. And I think it's just finding those little pieces, and it doesn't always have to be the sexiest. You might bring in somebody, you're like, shit, we don't need him. And then next thing you know, you're like, yeah.
This is why I give yeah, sorry, Joba. No, I was gonna say this is why I give
I agree with that comment for sure.
Oh, about Verdugo?
Yeah. No,
he's
I
real
think to an extent for sure. I think
I love the Verdugo trade. I think it's great.
No, I 100%, because he's shown who he was. He's proven it. He has that personality, and that's a vibe that you have, right?
Yeah.
Like that brings in something. I don't know him for nothing. I don't know how he is in the clubhouse. I don't know, but like just seeing his energy and his swag and the things that he does, it's kind of like what Nick was.
Yeah.
Do I think Verdugo's better than Swisher? Yeah, I do.
Me too.
And I think that's an added value.
When he was in Boston, even though every Yankee fan, bar me, hated him, I always enjoyed watching him. I thought he had this energy, and I thought he was really productive.
Solid player.
Yeah.
This is one reason I give Stanton and IKF so much credit, because they handled the criticism like a boss, like a damn pro.
Yeah.
They owned their bad play, owned
Yes,
it in front of the New York media. I sucked. I sucked for a month. They just own it, and they stand right in front of it. They answer the hard questions, and they keep it moving.
Yep.
And they come back every day, and they work every day. Obviously, Stanton's the superstar player. IKF wasn't, but they both
still owned up to it.
like a damn pro. And I like characters revealing, man. It really is.
And I was going to say, to get back to your point, Jabba, about Nick Swisher, he almost seemed like when he was in that dugout, everything was much more looser. It was much looser in the dugout, where everyone was having fun and, paying attention to the game, but joking around and still, being kids or acting like, if you want to put it that way, playing a kid, grown-ups acting like kids in a kid's sport. So I always felt like Swisher was that nice tension reliever for that 09 club.
I think it was a conglomerate of like the young kids and the energy, and then bringing him in, and we had Cervelli too as a backup, and like certain things like that where energy is contagious, and you see it, and then having the walk-offs, and AJ coming out and splashing you in the face with, most of the time it was shaving cream, which I was like, damn, you're an asshole, like that shit burns. Like, can't you use whipped cream? Like come on, man. And so it just became contagious, and that's exactly what it was. Like, everybody wanted to hang out with each other. Everybody, birthday parties, whatever it was, it became contagious. And that obviously, because if you guys remember 09, we didn't get off to a great start.
Yeah.
We did not get off to a great start.
I remember.
Yep.
And so it was like everybody's panicking around us because they're like, oh, you brought in all these guys, superstars, you have this, and this. Well, we believed in each other, and we trusted in one another, and we had that continuity, and like we believed in each other, and it's like, trust the process. Here we go. We have exactly what we need to have, and we had some call-ups, and not a lot, but enough, and where it was, we knew what we had. We knew what it was, and it wasn't always the superstar stepping up. It was the guys. And that was the Brett Gardners of the world before Brett was Brett. And so you have those guys, and there were so many people that stepped up in so many different ways where it always wasn't the superstar. And
Marte.
100%.
Mhm.
And you
Awesome.
see that where this team is shaping up to be in that aspect. Do I think there's a couple pieces that they still need to fill in? I think so. But that aspect of it pushes you in a different way because you believe in one another.
Yeah.
And I think that's extremely important.
Do you feel like they have the right guys, the captain, co-captain, the right guys steering the ship on the player side? Judge and
No,
Nicole.
100. I mean, dude, when you got a dude that rolls out and you get Garrett Cole and man, yeah, it was a rough year for him. Sometimes, I mean, there were 7 starts that he went 7+ innings and gave up 2 runs less and didn't win a game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating, and I understand that, but you're adding pieces to the puzzle that necessarily might not be that way next year. And I think with the way Aaron does things and the way Garrett goes about his business, and if we can get Rodon in another arm, I think it's going to be, the right recipe for what it is. And if they get another piece to the puzzle, and like we said earlier, it's like it doesn't have to be the sexiest one, but it's sexy because it fits the puzzle. It fits in where it needs to be. And do they have to be the big spenders? Because obviously they're not going to be. I mean, obviously we've seen what the Dodgers have done.
Yep.
Mhm.
And that's what they want to be. So go be it, right?
So, yeah, let's have a look at the rotation
So-
as it is. So after Garrett
Yeah.
Cole, you're looking at Rodon, you're looking at Clark Schmidt, you're looking at possibly Nestor Cortez, and then looking at a 5th starter, maybe Will Warren or Clayton Beater. We're not quite sure yet, or maybe that's going to be something we get in the outside. From what your thoughts are, do you think Rodon's going to have a comeback, bounce back season? And what are your thoughts on Clark Schmidt? Do you see upside with it?
I love Clark's stuff.
Me too.
His stuff plays. And I think from that perspective of Rodon, he's always had the stuff. Like we've seen him from the White Sox, and then obviously coming over, and he's shown what it is, and he understands, his capabilities and whatever. It's just, I think too, in an aspect of coming into what he is, and obviously injuries are going to happen. We all know that. That's going to be part of it. But he knows how good he can be. And I think, winning is contagious. And you watch a buddy go out and, go 7 innings. You're like, okay, I'm starting tomorrow. I got to do the same thing. And so I think he'll have a better year than he did last year? Yeah, 100%. And I think Clark now is going to be, he's more comfortable. He understands, situations, and and that's just part of the game. Is you can't get comfortable if you're not in those situations. Runner on second and third, you got to make a pitch. There's just certain aspects of it. Are they going to go 82 and 80 next year? No, they're not. You can footnote this, clip note it, do whatever you want. They're not going 82 and 80. I'm going to tell you that right now. Will they win 100 games? I don't know that. But they're not going to go 82 and 80. Mm-hmm. And, I think there's another piece that they're going to put, and I think some of these young kids are going to step up and fill some shoes that need to be filled. But if you said right now, and if you don't do any other moves, if there's nothing else done, and we're using what we got, playing with what we have, it should be a 90 to 95 win season. And I think that's very attainable with what we have and what they've brought in. And like I've said, I think Trent Grisham is a huge dynamic.
That's a nice pickup.
dynamic.
That's a great trade. I think Cashman's done a very, very good job so far.
Yeah. And so it's just, you have the pieces that you got. And obviously Verdugo in the things that, and Verdugo's not going to get caught off guard, right? Because he was in Boston. So he knows the media. He knows that dynamic of what this is going to be. So he's not going to get caught off guard. It's not going to be something that he hasn't dealt with. Sure. And that's going to be a huge aspect of the team and what he does, because it's not going to fluster him. It's like, because he sucked at Boston, but what did he always do? He always talked to the media. He said his mind, and maybe you didn't like it, maybe you did, but he always came to the forefront of what it was. And so that's not going to catch him off guard. And so I think that is a huge thing. And I think obviously having Trent Grisham, where he can play all three outfield positions. We know somebody's going to get hurt at some point. That is just the way this team is. And we've seen it for the last years. And that's not a knock. That's not whatever. I mean, you break a toe, Stanton goes down. Like, it's just going to happen. It's going to happen. But you have a dude that can play all three positions, that is an above average outfielder, gives you good at bats, can do those things. And from everything that I've heard, obviously I don't know him, but everything that I've heard, great clubhouse guy, does those things and does it the right way. And so if there was nothing more, I would like to add another arm. I really would.
100%.
I would.
Oh yeah.
And maybe it's a mid-tier. There was a comment that came on earlier, Jordan Montgomery or Blake Snell.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I'm going to take Blake, obviously. But at the same time, Jordan knows what New York is. Like, so there's an advantage. You bring in a Blake Snell, like, you know, he's in Tampa and then San Diego. Like, so that dynamic is a huge part of it as well, because New York is a different animal. So you play on that, and that's why I think Verdugo is a huge part of it, because he's literally been through it. He's been in a big market. He knows the media. Like, he knows what's going on.
I'm glad you brought up Brad Ausmus. Now, if you've got experience with him, I think that was a really good hire. And I think Aaron Boone can learn a lot from him personally. What are your thoughts on Brad Ausmus?
Brad was great. Brad was awesome. He was a player's coach. You know, he obviously he kept us in line with, you know, what was going on, and just he's going to fight for your team. I don't know how he will, I guess, delegate in the aspect of, you know, just being the bench coach or whatever, because that's completely different than my relationship with him as my manager.
Yeah.
But he was always up front. Like, I remember when we were making the trade for David Price, and it was me, Justin, and Joe, and we saw like Dombrowski and Avila come into the clubhouse, and we're like, oh shit, something's going down. Like, it's about to go down. And so we're looking at each other, and we're like, what the fuck's going on? Like, and Brad was like, we're going to make a move. We think it's David. And so, like, I get on my phone, I text David, and I'm like, hey, just a heads up, there might be some shit going down. He was on the golf course.
Oh.
Tampa had they had an off day, and he was golfing. And I was like, hey, you might want to, you know, keep your phone right next to you. And literally less than an hour, he literally texted me back. He goes, I just got a call. I need to report to the clubhouse. And he goes, I would have had no idea if you didn't text me. But Brad was so good about it where like he was the player's coach. And it's like, obviously, you know these guys because you play against them or with them and you know them. And I just gave him a heads up. And he was like, dude, I would have had no idea. My agent didn't tell me nothing. He goes, the only heads up I had was because you text me. And I wouldn't have known if he didn't have that. And I think that's what Brad's going to do. Just the accessibility of like him trying to help and, you know, do everything that he can to be the best that he can to be Booney and all of the other stuff to the players as well. And know that you have another mind to where, you know, you can go to and he's that way. And he was awesome. He was great to me. He was great to my son. He was great to my family. And I think he's such an added value. And I'm not saying Mendoza wasn't great. I'm not saying he wasn't. Because I knew him when we were playing. And he was in the minor leagues and whatever. But I think Brad brings a different dynamic where I think it really, truly, genuinely helps Booney in more ways than one.
Is he quite tough? Because obviously Boone's a little bit kind to everybody behind the scenes. Is he kind of tough enough to hold people to account?
Oh, 100%. Like,
good.
But he does it in like he's a surfer. Like he has this watch where it like has the waves and all the other stuff. Like, and I would give him shit about it all the time. I'm like, what are the waves like right now? And so, but I think it's a good balance. I think it's a really good balance because at the end of the day, Booney is a baseball guy. Like, I will never take anything away from him. And like when you grow up with the game and you have lineage, like, I mean, literally it's his whole life. His whole life is baseball. His family, everything that goes with it. And I think sometimes too, when you have a little bit of other, like, to balance you out in those aspects, I think it fits. And I think Brad was a great hire for that.
So I gotta.
Yeah.
Do you think the Yankees should get another left-handed starter? Because I know in 2009 you had CC and Pettit as your lefties. Do you feel another lefty would be beneficial for this rotation?
Because we're gonna go right, left, left.
Be another right after that.
Yeah. Necessarily, I don't necessarily know if a left-hander is the right answer. I mean, that's the ones that obviously that come to the forefront of our mind when people are talking about this. I think we know what we're going to get. Obviously know we're going to get a Garrett. Rodon is kind of one of those things. Nestor, I think, is obviously going to compete his ass off. He's going to give you what he gives you. Clark's obviously going to do that. And then as our fifth, do you split up? Do you go right, left, and then add another one? Are they going to rely on some of the young arms that we have in the minor leagues to have those chance, and Hampton and all those guys? I would like another arm, whether right, left, whatever it is. I don't necessarily think it needs to be left-handed. I don't think it needs to be that. I would just like one other arm. I mean, I don't give a shit if you throw fucking left-footed. Like,
Yeah.
Just get another one there where, you know, we have that opportunity, because now we're gonna have some of those younger guys in the minor leagues that can maybe step in and do some things and see what happens.
So you would be okay with 3 lefties and 2 righties, or vice versa?
Yep,
3
yep,
righties and 2
100%.
lefties.
Yep,
Okay.
yep, without a doubt.
Okay.
So there was a name that myself and other content creators like Uncle Pat's and NFE and Donald and Jason and I have brought up with what about going to Miami? Because they seem to be like a very formidable trade partner with us. They were interested in Glaber. We were interested in, in their pitchers, Edward Cabrera, Braxton Garrett, Trevor Rogers. What do you think if the Yankees said, okay, you know what? We know we're not going to extend Glaber because we're going to use Peraza for the future. What if we went and traded for one of the Marlins pitchers and had a package of Torres and Pereira to try to get one of those young starters over here, and we would eat Torres' salary? Would you be okay with that?
Man, depending on what, like, as the package goes, I don't know if I would necessarily be okay with that, because you've obviously given up a bunch already.
Yeah.
If you do that, then in what? Okay, so let me ask you a question. Like, so if you do that, what would you want to get back?
So I would be looking to get at least one of their big starters, like an Edward Cabrera or a Trevor Rogers, and then one of their relievers, maybe an AJ Puck or an Andrew Nardi, in return in that deal. So then that gives me at least two solid pieces back with team control.
So do you, like, in that aspect, do you want major league ready guys now already?
Yes. I want major league ready guys who are ready now to pitch on the big leagues and are ready to slot into the spot, whether it be the rotation or the bullpen, that can help the team now.
I would take that if you get that, and that's what you're going to do. I don't think you don't take a deal like that if it's hesitant on can they help at the big league level, and that's why I asked that question. It's like, if you can get big league ready and big league proven with AJ, I mean, Puck is awesome. So I would say I would be okay with that and giving up a little bit more if now they can slot in and they can help on one way or the other because they've done it already. And so I would be okay with that.
So like Trevor Rogers, for example, he's already pitched a couple seasons in the big leagues. He's got 3 years under his belt. He's got another 3 years of team control left. So someone like that, and then one of the relievers, like an AJ Puck, like you mentioned, about how he could slot in. So something like that. That's where I was going with it, like on the lines of that. If you would be okay if like you're getting major league ready talent that can slot in, and they can slot in, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I would be okay with that. I think at this point now, after what has been given, I think if you do make a trade or you do anything, I think it has to be major league ready talent. I think they have to be able to, step in and help immediately. And so if that's the case, then 100% I would do it. And to know that you're going to have those pieces of the puzzle, again, like I said, where they can step in and fill in one way or the other, but they've done it already.
Yeah.
So that I would do it if that was the context of the trade or whatever you guys do. I would want that, because I don't want to play the game of like, maybe he'll help us, maybe he won't, but at least you've seen him do it in the big league level where he's done it. So I think I would only do it if we're getting that right now and they can help us, then 100%.
And Job, if I can add to Mike's point, because we were talking about this, we talked about this a lot. The Marlins and the Mariners represent fits for the Yankees because they need bats, not arms. We have the bats. We need their arms. And they have cost controllable players who've already shown the ability to throw between 160 and 180 innings at the major league level, which we need.
Yes.
So we need that guy to come here, and we have an excess of position players. We'd be dealing from a surplus to address an area of need, and they'd be doing the same thing. So we were talking about this last night, and the Marlins and the Mariners represent good fits. And to your point too, Java, like, can they do it at the major league level? And the reason why I think we've lasered in on these guys because they have done it already at the major league level. And some of these young guys, and they all have 4 to 5 years of controllable cost, team control. And because you're absolutely right, like they may not invest in the big picture. They may go with a kid from the Marlin and trade for Shane Bieber or something like that. Both would be on the cheap, but they'd still add 2 arms, right? And then which will allow them to get a reliever if they want to do that too. Because I can agree with you more. Like they do need at least 1 arm. It could be a signing or a trade and one of their kids, like Will Warren and somebody else. So, but the Marlins and the Mariners, if correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but they represent and NFE too. If they represent the best, most logical trade partners for the Yankees because of they have exactly what we need and we have exactly what they need.
They do, and you and I, Jason, have talked about this numerous times. The Mariners have a bullpen piece that is ready right now, that is going to be possibly one of the top closers in the majors, and that is Andres Munoz. He proved it last year. His break on his slider is disgusting. I mean, he has about a 1.5 foot break on his slider. His 2-seamer is like that horizontal movement with a fastball that can rise and top out at 101. So that's like the kind of person I'm looking at. Someone like that can slot in to whether it be bullpen or rotation, that could be that piece of that puzzle like you were talking about that could help now.
Yeah, and the Mariners are apparently having money problems, and the Marlins we know already operate on the cheap. So they represent good fits for the Yankees because we have cost controllable players that they could both use.
Or we could give them Torres and Torres' contract so they don't have to pay it.
Yeah. What's your take on that, Job? I want to know what you thought. And you know pitching better than we do, so we'd love to get your insight on this.
No, I mean, I think that's maybe what they're thinking in the aspect of all of kind of both of what you guys have said. And the Yankees have what they don't, and we know what they don't do and what they do, and we can have those opportunities. And you see all these trades and certain things, and it's like, and obviously Sale going to the Braves for Vaughn Grisham and all that stuff. And now the Red Sox are making moves with Giolito and all the other stuff, right? And so there are certain arms going out or whatever, but I think if knowing it's supply and demand, right? Yeah. It's supply and demand in the aspect of everything that one team has and one team doesn't have. And I think it needs to be, and this is just me saying this, that one arm shouldn't cost you more than what that one arm is going to get you.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I think there's obviously guys out there, and I think there's, as I'm looking at this right now, I think there's literally opportunities, but like I said, supply and demand, we can't give up more than what we get.
And the prices right now are very high in the pitching market. So we have to factor that into consideration, which I think that's one reason why the Marlins and Mariners represent, I think, the best fits for the Yankees in terms of what they can get. And Cashman better than we do. He does a great job of not telling us shit. And he just pulls out a trade out of nowhere or a signing out of nowhere. So he it's like Fort Knox. He doesn't leak. And I appreciate that. I'd rather not know and then him wake up tomorrow morning and he pulled what kind of trade he did. What?
Yeah.
And I'd rather
like
have
the Verdugo trade. Like that came out of nowhere. I
Yeah.
mean, there were talks that the Yankees wanted Verdugo, but there was no talks at
Yeah,
all.
it's been like 2 years that they've been interested and never pulled the trigger, and then all of a sudden it happens. You're like, oh shit.
Yep.
Same with the Soto negotiations. That was ongoing for a couple of years.
Funny thing was, I wasn't even home when that happened. So I was like, what? And I had that same look like, this just happened?
Mhm.
So I agree with Joba on that. It's nice to wake up to find out really, uncharacteristic moves that you don't think of, the ones that come out of left field. So
Yeah.
So, Joba, I wanted to ask. I know it's been a long time since the Yankees haven't won a World Series, and some fans were upset that there were players that were not signed or that they didn't trade for. Were there any players that you felt the Yankees should have gone after, but they didn't, or as far as signings or trades go? Missed opportunities.
No, not. I mean, like I said, the one, like you said, it was like coming out of left field. Obviously, AJ and C did their press together. The next thing you know, we get text. Like that was, we didn't have any idea. Like we didn't know shit.
there was no
we didn't know
replacement
nothing.
against the Yankees, which was the funny thing.
And so, like, we obviously knew C after he did what he did, and then we were going after AJ, and then next thing you know, we get texts, and you're like, that's that one where you're just like, you wake up and you're like, oh shit, what just happened? You're like, okay, we got Mark Teixeira, sweet, like this is awesome.
Yeah.
So I mean,
yeah.
I don't think there's necessarily like during that off season, and mind you, I was very young at that point.
Yeah.
And obviously wasn't in those conversations and what have you. But it's always nice too, and to your point, Jason, what you said is like Cash doesn't really say anything sometimes. And yeah, that's great, but it's also too, it's like sometimes if I'm a tenured guy and I'm there, and like if I'm Aaron Judge or Garrett Cole, right? Like I kind of want to know, like, hey, is this going to be a good fit? Is this gonna work out? And then sometimes you just got to make that decision and be like, hey, this is the best that we're going to do right now, and we're going to get him. We're just going to fucking get him, right? Let's get him. Yeah. And so I think that's part of it, but I don't think there was necessarily anybody in that realm where it was like, oh, that person was out there and we didn't get him. Mm-hmm. I guess I probably didn't pay as much attention of it because like you knew you were on the team. Like you didn't really think about it. Now, like as I talk about it and I have shows about it and jump on with you guys and whoever else, you look at it more and you read about it and you see things. So I think it's completely different as a player sometimes because you're obviously not embedded in everything because, now you're a dad and then, you're going to games and shit like that. So yeah, I think it's completely different, but I think we did everything that we needed to do at that point and fit the puzzle pieces to what we needed to do with what we had already. And so I think they can do the same thing in that aspect of being able to fill those holes and do that. So I don't think like going through it, there was something that we missed on. I don't think there was, obviously, because we won the World Series. So,
and if anybody
right,
should,
but within,
sorry, then if you go ahead, man.
No, I was just gonna, but I was asking like within the last, let's just say within the last like 4 or 5 years, do you think there were players that the Yankees missed out on that they should have signed?
Oh,
that could have helped them.
I mean, you look at the deadline and like certain things where they wanted to make moves and certain stuff like that. I think there's definitely pieces that they have missed.
Any names that come to mind?
not a name specifically, but like when it came down to it, like why was there never a move made that made a drastic change in the team where you made a splash? Like they didn't do anything. Like they never, they always, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, because the team that was structured and whatever, could they win? But obviously it's shown that we haven't won. And so when it comes to a deadline trade and you do certain things, but we've never made a trade deadline splash. Haven't done anything.
True.
So I can't specifically name a name where I think we should have went and got them, but they haven't done anything at that point to make anybody feel any different or think any differently. That they think, oh, we're good enough to win right now.
Right. Right.
Well, obviously we're not fucking winning.
Facts.
That's a good point. It's a good
We're not
point.
Well, it's just because I was asking this question because a lot of fans were pissed off. For example, like they didn't sign Bryce Harper, they didn't sign Manny Machado, they didn't go after Corey Seager or Trey Turner. There's just a list of names that fans go through, and that was the reason why I was asking. And I don't know, I don't know if those players would have necessarily made a difference. I mean, they could have helped the team, but I don't know if that would have guaranteed a championship. And it kind of goes back to what you were saying of getting the right pieces to help this team win.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. It's like, and I did a show, and it was just literally like people were like, are they doing enough? Are they doing this? And like, obviously, no. And fans should be pissed. Or like, and it was a question that they asked me one time, was like, are they warranted for being pissed off? And I'm like, well, yeah, you didn't do anything. You didn't make the team better. You brought in a reliever at the deadline, and that didn't do shit. You're not doing anything. We went 82-80.
Yeah.
So it just shows, and that says to the fans, oh, we think we're good enough. Well, obviously, we're not fucking good enough if we're going 82-80.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So go do something different. Let's go make a change. We've got to do something.
So what do you put that down to, Joba? Do you put that down to the front office or Boone, or just not the right players?
It has to be. It's the front office, because at the same time, you're not making those decisions to bring in somebody or get somebody, and now you would just want to get this half-ass reliever. That doesn't show your fans that you want to win. And that's the thing for me. It's like, now, okay, you got Juan Soto. You did this. Okay, you've got this. You're making changes to what the team is. But if you have a chance to do it on that dynamic, then do it. But they haven't done it. And we've seen it hasn't won.
I have to disagree with this comment here. Hindsight is 2020. Sorry, bro. The Yankees went into the season without a left fielder, and then they went the entire year with the worst production in left field. That isn't hindsight is 2020. That's just bad.
No, it's
bad
not.
Decision.
It's not even close. That's why I say, to your point, why Trent Grisham, I think, is a huge aspect.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%.
So it's not 2020 in what you do.
And I want to
my
say,
point of what I said earlier is some people don't fit New York. Some people don't.
Yeah.
So it's not hindsight is 2020, because it's not. Because if you don't have that and you don't have production, and if you look at our numbers as a whole, we were awful.
Yeah.
And I just want to say this. After they got Verdugo, right? It was within a matter of 24 to 48 hours that they landed Soto. So within that time frame, they upgraded this team and that outfield tenfold from what they had last year.
Not only did they add contact bats, Mike, but The Yankees were minus 26 defensive runs saved in the outfield last year. Verdugo by himself is plus 9. So they've gotten so much better in run prevention as well as run manufacturing.
Mhm.
So they lengthened the lineup. They diversified it. They added contact hitters. The best contact hitter in baseball, Juan Soto now. But they've gotten so much better defensively too. And that's not really being talked about, but it's an important part of this puzzle. And like Joba, he makes a great point too, because Trent Grisham and Alex Verdugo are going to bring so much defensive acumen to this freaking outfield now. It's going to be remarkable.
Because Grisham is going to be that late game defensive replacement, and it's going to be great to watch that.
Yeah.
But, I'm excited about it because of that. I'm not going to speak for everyone else here. I will speak for myself, and that is what the Yankees did by getting Soto, Grisham, and Verdugo made me excited. Because that says, because you don't trade for Verdugo and Grisham and Soto within a 24 to 48 hour period if you're not serious about winning. That's how I look.
Yeah, it's completely out of character too, because the Yankees have, at least for the last decade, have waited out almost the entire offseason before they start making moves. They did this like the first week of the offseason. So now it looks like they haven't done anything forever because they acted so early in the offseason. And at this point, they've been improving around the margins, which also matters, right? They added bullpen depth, they added infield depth, they added bench depth, outfield depth. So they've done these things, and now people are waiting for pitching. We're waiting for the market to kind of materialize, and that's favorable in a way to the Yankees. So,
agreed. I have no complaints for the offseason.
You're absolutely right, man. Those trades were really, really meaningful. Really.
So, do you think them doing it early set a precedent of like showing that like, okay, we're improving in this aspect, but do you think that they stop there, or do
no,
they?
I don't think they're done.
I think they need to establish early on that they meant business. Okay, we need to make changes, and we need to start doing the shit now, because other teams are going to jump on these opportunities, and we're going to be left with our dicks on our hands, doing nothing, saying we didn't get the guys we needed, or we tried. No, you actually did. Like I told you, Mike, I don't care what they say. I care what they do. And they actually made these trades. They brought these guys here. They absolutely needed to do that. They needed to get Juan Soto here. They needed his ass here. And
this offseason they took initiative. Sorry, Jason, but
this is the first time that they've done it in a while, and I'm very, very happy very happy that they've done that. And do you agree with that, Joba? Do you disagree with that? I mean,
no, and that's why I said what I said is like, you think they set a precedent early?
Yeah.
To let them know that we're making changes and that, but
they needed to say, look, we're at the big board table. We haven't been at the big board table in a long time. We're at the fucking big board table.
It also helps that they had that Hal had Colin Judge in his ear. So that also helped.
Yes, absolutely. So it's good that they've made some changes that, good changes so far. And hopefully they'll continue this trend. Like, they can't stop this year and then go back to the way it was next year. Like, they can't do that. If they want to have a sustainable competitive product, right, a sustainable competitive team, they need to do this with regularity, right? Some type of semblance of consistency. So I do think they're going to bring in pitching. They know, if you want to keep Cole happy, you want to keep Judge happy, you want to have a good chance in extending Soto, you need to put a good team on the field. So you need pitching.
Yep, absolutely.
Jason,
and
you bring up a good point though. Are they renting Soto, or what are they going to do?
I think
they're going to retire.
Let me know if you agree with me here. I think so. Now we know that Yamamoto. He said in the press conference, like, no matter where Ohtani was, I was going to go to the Dodgers anyway. So that to me tells me, maybe not everybody else, but that he may not have been a good fit here. Okay, so to me, the Yankees have saved $300 million, which they could apply some of it, make it a little bit easier to sign and extend Soto, because whether they bring in Montgomery, Snell, Imanaga, they're not going to be tied up for 12 years like the Dodgers are with Imanaga. I mean, with Yamamoto. these guys are going to be on 5-year deals or whatnot. So I think whoever they bring in is going to help their effort to re-sign Juan Soto. So because the fact is too, Scott Boras now has an argument to ask for a boatload of money, a la Ohtani. Ohtani got $700 million. Boras has an argument now for that because he's going to ask for it. I'm not saying he's going to get it, but he's going to ask for it, right? And Soto's 5 years younger than Ohtani. So, and he's the perfect fit for the Yankees. So,
Jason, if I may,
go ahead.
The Dodgers this offseason alone have spent $1.043 billion.
How many World Series have they won with that so far?
0.
None.
Goose egg.
And it doesn't matter. Like, think about like in exactly what you're saying though. When now the Padres signed Matsui, right? But they had everybody.
Yep.
And they didn't even get to the fucking playoffs.
Yep.
Like, this game isn't played on paper.
Yep.
You can sign the best of the best, but to my point and what we've talked about before is like you got to find the right pieces to the puzzle. And like we've all said, it's like sometimes it's not the sexiest thing to do, right? But you got to find the right shit. And San Diego keeps doing it, and he's going to keep spending money because they ain't winning.
Yep.
So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
But what are the Yankees going to do in the aspect of that aspect?
Yeah. Well, to your point too, Joba, like the Yankees, so they made a conscious admission that they needed contact hitters, right, to complement the lineup on the lefty side. They've done that. Juan Soto checks every single box for them. They've done that too. We also know that they need to add pitching, guys who can actually throw innings, dependable innings, right, to ease the load on the bullpen. So we know that they need to do that too. But the question is, and you bring up an important point, Joba. You keep saying, like, who's the right fit here? We don't know yet. Like, Snell could be a good fit. Montgomery could be a right fit. And I even took Imanaga from Japan because he shut not only has he shut the Team USA down in the World Baseball Festival, dominated their asses. Okay?
Yeah, that was he put it on us.
He was money. He was money, dude. And and I know there's a lot of hype that goes with Yamamoto and a lot of hype. When we talked about this last night, these guys are hyped, right? Roki Sasaki, hype, big time. Kodai Senga wasn't hyped, but he turned out to be a really good fit for the Mets.
Absolutely.
Really good fit. And I think Shota Imanaga could represent a good fit, an affordable fit for the Yankees.
Imanaga has 5 more strikeouts than Yamamoto last year.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And he's also on. And I put out a video this morning of all the guys that have thrown perfect games and no hitters in Japan. He's one of them.
Yep.
He's one of them. Nobody talks about it, but he's one of them. So he's just as important as Yamamoto is, but he's going to come at a fraction of the cost. And he's a lefty. He hardly walks anybody. And I know there's concerns about him being homer prone, but if he's not walking people and not giving up a lot of hits, then it's not going to be basic because of home runs.
Those home runs mean nothing.
Yeah, he's got a 9-1 strikeout to home run, strikeout to walk ratio. So really good.
He's not coming with the hype that Yamamoto came with. So he could be a sneaky good signing.
Yeah,
sneaky good.
But they also thought a good sneaky signing was Keigawa, and that guy was terrible.
Yeah, he was.
Unfortunately,
too. Yeah. And I brought this up. He also threw a freaking no hitter in Japan.
Yep.
He also threw no hitter, and he was also, I think, and I don't know if you, but they kind of got him on the downside of his career when they got him too. Like,
well, it was funny too because like when I was in Hawaii, and Kay signed that year, I played with a bunch of dudes. Like we had 4 Japanese guys on our team.
Nice.
And they were like, I can't believe you guys got Keigawa. He sucks. And I'm like, obviously I know nothing. And this is Japanese guys telling me this. I don't know shit about anything, right? And like, he is garbage.
Yeah.
And the dude, I ended up pitching against him a bunch. And he's like, I beat Kai every time I fucking pitched against him. And I'm like, and then obviously getting to play with him and seeing it, I'm like, this dude is trash. Like he is a garbage can. But they had to do something because Red Sox got Daisuke. You know what I'm saying? Like invented the gyro ball. Get the fuck out of here. You're not inventing pitches, bitch. Like get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but Imanaga's like a mile ahead of Keigawa, so I would be less hesitant about Imanaga than I would with Keigawa.
It's the same thing though. If you look at it in that perspective, like Imanaga he doesn't get the Yamamoto love, right?
Mm-hmm. He doesn't.
He's obviously, I think he's better than Igawa, but
he's way better. Yeah.
Is that the piece that you fit?
Well, like you said too, if the Yankees are not going to spend the big money, then he represents somebody who would be a logical person to think about. And I don't know if they're going to go down that road because the fact is Snell's probably going to get close to 200, right?
Yep.
Let's just say ballpark. Monty maybe $150, something like that. Imanaga
he'll probably be north of 150.
So yeah, I mean, could be. You're right. And Imanaga on a good day it might be 100, and which is still a lot, but it also gives them wiggle room for Soto. It gives them wiggle room to add to the bullpen, wiggle room to trade for Bieber or something like that, or wiggle room to sign another guy. Like they could essentially get 4 or 5 guys for the price of Yamamoto himself. Yeah. So
I think it's a 2-for-1 with Yamamoto if you're going to get guys like, and I think Bieber's silently one of those ones where we say we wake up the next day and they did that.
Yeah,
I think Bieber's one of those guys where I think, obviously pitching in the Central, which the Central is obviously not great. It hasn't been great, but he has that pedigree of what he's done.
Yeah.
I think that's one where, like I said, it's a 2-for-1, and you can still get a guy from the bullpen and get another quality arm in Shane and what he does. I think it's not a 4-for-1. I think it's a 2-for-1 if you do it that way.
And when he was at his best, he was under Matt Blake's tutelage.
He's a monster.
Yeah. So could be a net benefit there too. I mean, would you be happy with a job if they traded for Bieber and brought in somebody like Imanaga? Would you be happy with that?
1,000%.
How about you guys?
Absolutely.
I would have no complaints.
No issue with even if they brought in Bieber and Monty, I'd be okay with that because at least
no doubt.
If you did that and you didn't get Imanaga, at least you would be saying to your fan base, "Hey, here's the pitching you wanted. Here you go." It's not like we're sitting back watching everyone come off the board. You know what I'm saying? So I would absolutely be 100% okay with that.
Yeah, and it looks like they need 2 starting pitchers. And one Yamamoto, you can't pitch him 2 days in a row. That's only one spot. You need
I'm all in on Monty. I think Monty showed me something with the Rangers. Well, the Rangers certainly showed us how to actually make the most of him with his pitching arsenal. I think he's got the upside. So I completely disagree with anyone who says he's a back end starter. He proved it with the Rangers that he's very, very capable of being a solid 2 or 3. So he'd be my choice free agency, but I certainly wouldn't discount Imanaga. I've been looking at him more and more, and I think he's someone that could settle into the back end of the rotation, do a good job. I don't want to trade Peraza. As I say, I've said it a number of times, I don't want to trade him, but if I was to look at people that would be possibly someone I would use in a trade, it would be someone like Pereira, because we've got a ton of outfielders now, and Oswaldo Cabrera. I think those 2 guys that are probably movable now, considering we've got Jason Dominguez, we've got Spencer Jones, and then we've already talked about Grisham and Verdugo, Soto. So we've got a ton of outfielders. I think those 2 guys are someone that you could maybe go and get a solid 4th or 5th starter, or even a very high leverage reliever for those guys.
and I'd be very happy with that. So those are the guys that I'd be looking at to do. But as for the starters, I think it would be Monty and Imanaga from the free agency.
Yeah. Joba?
Go ahead, Jason.
No, you were going to say something. I wanted to give you the.
No, I mean, I think too, like, Don, when you say, like, Monty's going to come in, he'll be a 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's a 1. I mean, obviously, what he proved with the Rangers, I think it shows, what he's capable of doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think coming into here in the act of what it is, it's like, you always want to keep up with your colleagues, right? And you want to be that guy, but you'll never be Garrett Cole. You'll never be that. Obviously, Garrett doesn't have what you have because you have a World Series and he doesn't, and I understand that. But there comes to a point too where we as human beings and as men, our egos come in, and that's part of it. Does he want to come in and be a 3 or a 4? Now that he's proven of what he is and proven it on the highest level. So that's another part of where it is. Do you want to come back and do that and like be second fiddle? And that's just part of it. And I know that in that realm, you're always going to be second fiddle, but you've gone and proved it, and you've done it, and you've won.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I don't give a shit what anybody says. That dudes are better than you. We all know that. We're human beings. I'm not as good as that dude. I'm not. I'm just not. But now I've gone and proved it. He hasn't. He gets paid more money. I'm doing this. Do I want to be the 3 or the 4? That's another question that comes into play.
Yeah.
So before we wrap everything up, I wanted to ask Joba this. What would be the one move that would surprise you the most that the Yankees make if they make or when they make another move?
I would love to get somebody to sum up the game. I would love to see a Hader or a Stevenson or even Hicks at that point, like somebody at the end of the game where they've done it. And I think Hader's probably not the best fit, but you have a guy that came back and he had a 1.4, and the dude knows how to win.
Yeah.
And he has that asshole mentality. Mind you, he might have to cut his hair and might have to do some other things, and that's a part of the allure of the Yankees.
Yeah.
But also the allure of winning is different. And if I think, is it probably the best fit? No. But you get a dude like that. I think Stevenson from Tampa, I think that's the one I would really like to do.
Robert Stevenson?
Where you get him. Oh, man. Stevenson's a dub. I mean, his slider is unbelievable.
Straight up dog.
And we've seen it. And he's a dude.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also that aspect, like I've said before, where New York's a different fucking animal.
Yes, it is.
And you got to deal with that.
It is. Yes.
And that's part of it. And I don't want them to be in a bad position. But I think if you make that move and you get one of those back ends where maybe you don't get another starter. Maybe you don't. And that's okay. But you get a back end where you're like, boom, here we go. We got this dude. And so I think that would be the one where I'm like, you get a back end where it closes it. Because for how many years we didn't have to worry about it because we had Mo.
Yeah.
And that's the thing where I think it can really, as an arm, I don't think we need another bat. I don't think we need that. I think it's, go get a back end where now they're not worried about whatever.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't think Hader's probably the best for New York, but at the same time, I'd take him on my team every damn day. But it's just handling all the other stuff.
Yeah. So I'm gonna.
And I mean, I can text him and I can do whatever. And if that's like the Dodgers are going after him now, and Yankees are in the conversation, but I'm like, man, go, like, I'll help you as much as I can. Shit, if I got to fly out there and make you comfortable, you can come to my restaurants. You can, you can stay in one of my places. Like, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But if we got a back end guy like that, hell yeah. I mean, that's huge.
It's true. So I'm going to throw it to Donald, Jason, and NFP for their final thoughts or questions for you, Java, before we wrap this up. So Jason, Donald, NFP, whichever one of you guys wants to shoot your last comment for questions.
Go ahead, guys.
Go ahead, Donald.
Yeah.
Oh, well, first of all, Job, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on. And I'd love to have you come on the Pinstripe Chronicles podcast whenever.
Dude, anytime. Just let me know. Like, I'm just a single dad that hangs out. I ain't got shit going on. So just
awesome.
I sit in my office and this is what I do. And man,
cool. I'll DM you. But it's been an absolute pleasure.
What is your podcast, Java? I forgot to ask you. What is your podcast?
Trip Play Podcast. We've had Jerry Ferrer on. I got Eli Manning coming on next week.
Oh shit! Gotta watch that.
Yeah. So
Trip
Play Podcast.
Trip Play Podcast.
Yeah, Trip Play Pod. Yeah.
Cool.
Trip Play Pod. Okay, so TRIPPLAY.
Yep.
Pod.
POD.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Just want to make sure.
NFP, you got anything?
Yeah, I mean, the only other question I was going to ask you was, were there any teams that have ever reached out to you about a coaching job? And is that something that you would consider?
I mean, I would now at this point, probably, just because Carter's now he's graduating and, he's going to go to college. So yeah, it would be like, man, I love teaching kids. I love talking baseball.
Yeah.
And I love every aspect of that. And like, I've had a bunch of buddies that obviously have gone into coaching and all that other stuff. And, it's just, I've been fortunate enough to be in the position that I'm in and, just to be able to be home with Carter and, see his experiences like homecoming and prom and all that other cool stuff. And so now that Carter's going to college, and yeah, I definitely would.
Okay.
I mean, I love the game. I watch the game. I still play catch. Yeah. I still do all the other stuff. And, I literally, I throw and I hit 92 the other day. And I was like, oh,
oof,
I didn't
nice.
feel the greatest. I didn't feel the greatest afterwards, but, so yeah, it's just, yeah, I definitely would, man. I love the game of baseball so much, and it's given me so much. And it is, my son and I's relationship is so close with baseball, and baseball has given me everything and, the relationships and all the other stuff. And, this avenue of talking to you guys about the game of baseball has given me that. So I am forever grateful, and I appreciate all of it. But yeah, I mean, I'd probably entertain it now. I mean, I probably would.
Yeah, I figured because you're very passionate about the sport and the game. I mean, I can tell when you're talking about it, man. You're very I feel the energy from you. Yeah, so, absolutely. I just think that you would be, an amazing coach for any team. Really, I think you would have a lot to offer. So that's why I was just like, man, how come nobody has called him to be be a coach. Like this guy would be a
Right.
great coach, So that's why I asked the question, because again, I like you're still passionate about the sport even after you're done playing the game.
Yeah, no, it's like I love the grind of it. I
Yeah.
think like, when I, talk to these high school kids and all of these things and all the stuff that I do, I think it's something. I will be a fan of baseball longer than I've ever played. And I'm fortunate enough to play as long as I did and win 2 World Series and be in an all-star game and do those things. And I think it's just, I want to build the love of the game, not for what everybody sees it for, but for what it's worth, because it creates relationships. It creates you to be a better man, creates you to be a better husband, a better friend, a better son. I mean, and that's exactly, what it's done for me. And, if I can affect one person in that aspect of teaching a kid and, not only my son, but other kids, and the understanding of how special baseball is, and the fact that you spend more time with these dudes than you do with your own family, and how it becomes a family, and the importance of what it is. It's not only the X's and the O's as people say, but it's also what it was to become a man. And I have a young man, and he'll be 18 in April, and he is the greatest joy of my life. But the greatest joy of my life also had 25 other dads in the clubhouse, and to have that experience and to have those things, it is really the greatest compliment that I can ever give to my teammates, to my coaches, to everything that it is. And I am so grateful that he had the opportunity to do that, and that I was able to be his father, and to be able to be the one that led him through that. And now he's graduating and he's going to create his own journey. And I hope he does the same thing. And, that would be the one thing that I would love to do with these young men, and be like, man, don't take it for granted, because this shit ends real quick. And, this is what it is. So yeah, I would love that opportunity now. I'm 38 years old, and my son's going to be gone. I'm not even 40. And so to be able to, to turn a chapter in the page of the book and start something new, and be able to have that opportunity to help those kids too, and become fathers and all that other stuff, and help them along the way, not only on baseball, but on the game of life too, because the game of life will last longer than the game of baseball.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed. Well, absolutely right, man. And I hope that you do get a pitching job somewhere. I think that would be amazing, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome. Yeah.
Jason.
Let me just say this. I can't thank you enough for. I've learned so much in 2 discussions with you than I have learned in 100 discussions with a lot of other people. It's so relatable and so substantive.
Yes.
The amount of realness and genuine nature that you bring to the conversation. Not only talking baseball, but life. I'm a father of 3 daughters, and there's no greater joy than being a dad to my 3 daughters, 1, 3, and 5. Right? They wear me out, they drive me nuts, but I love them to death. So hearing what right, what you say about being a dad and what you learn from
it only gets better. It only gets better. Trust me.
Yeah, and I can't wait. I really can't wait. Like, and I, but I appreciate the knowledge that you shared with us from the baseball perspective, because I talked to NFE and I talked to Mike, like, for so long we'd like to have a conversation like this, and what you brought to the conversation elevated the content and the conversation so much that it just makes us want to do so much better. So I thank you for it. I really, really do.
No, you guys too.
I just want to say that.
Go ahead, John.
I was just
No,
going to
it
say,
just-
I relate to you in that way too, Java, about being away with my job currently, because I'm away a lot, and I'm a father of of a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old. So being away, with my
Stop.
job, I understand that wanting to be there. So and I thank you for coming on, for sharing that with us, because that's something that I can relate to as well.
No, and I appreciate you guys too, because at the same time, it's like when we stop growing as individuals, like it just you become stagnant in everything that you do. But it's awesome to come on and get perspectives from your guys's, and obviously mine, and it makes me a better person, and like to understand the things that I've gone through, and the things that we talk about. And I appreciate you guys obviously granting me this opportunity to be with you guys on your guys' show, because that's it's a privilege. It's not anything, and it's not warranted, and it's you just wanted me on. But I appreciate the fact that the reciprocation in that aspect of understanding what it is. And it's just your son's 17, he's going to be 18 years old, and just understanding all of that stuff, and just talking baseball, it makes me a better person. It makes me better for everything that I am in. So I appreciate you guys. So I thank you guys for having me on, and being
Well, I
part
wish
of
your son every success with his
Yeah.
future.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you
Thank
are-
you very
Thank you, Jabba.
Java,
He's,
you're
he's an asshole, but we'll take it. He's good.
you are always welcome. Just
Thank you,
Yeah.
guys. I
shoot me
appreciate it.
Anytime,
a
man.
message. We'll get you on. We will always find
Yeah.
time to get you on. No
I'll bring,
problem.
I'll bring my son on next time.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Also,
He'll just
you
talk
wanted
shit
to
about how his dad sucks, but it's fine.
if you wanted to put your podcast in the chat, or send it to us, or send it to me, and I can send it out, I will be happy to share that. And guys in the chat, thank you so much for coming in and hanging out with us. Please, when I get that Java's podcast, I will send it to you guys. Please go support it. Please support NFE. Please support Pinstripe Chronicles, and please support Jason at 161 River Ave. Java, it was a pleasure as always to have you on again. Thank
Great
you
pleasure.
for coming on.
Anytime,
You're
fellas.
welcome to come
Yeah,
on. Just
thank you
let me
so
know
much,
when
man.
you come on.
Happy New Year, man.
Yeah. No,
Happy
appreciate
New
you
Year
guys.
to
Happy New
you and to your
Happy
son.
New Year.
To you
Um,
and your family.
Thanks, guys.
guys,
We'll
this
holler
is-
at you.
sounds
All right,
good, Java.
guys.
Later.
Peace.
This is the final stop on this train ride. Thank you all for joining us. Jason, Donald, NFE, you guys are awesome. Thank you for coming on and doing this with me. I appreciate it. And I will get you guys the link to Java's podcast. And until next time, have a great rest of your night. And I will see you on the next train ride.
Peace, guys.
See y'all later.